Welcome to the J. Kim Show. This is your host, J. Kim. I am an investor, author, and fitness entrepreneur, and for the first time in Asia, I sit down with the world's most brilliant minds in business, investing, and entrepreneurship. You'll learn all the secrets, strategies, and formulas to becoming a successful entrepreneur directly from the masters. If this is your first time listening, thank you for stopping by. This podcast is produced every week with the goal of providing actionable insight to you, the listener, with every single episode. And now, on to the show. Today's guest is a very close friend of mine, and he's not your typical entrepreneur. His name is Darryl O'Young. Darryl is a professional race car driver and the director of Craft Bamboo Racing. He has over 28 years of experience in motorsport. He is a 3-time Macau Grand Prix winner, a 2-time Porsche Carrera Cup Asia champion, and most recently the 2015 GT Asia Series champion. But his most famous accomplishment is probably the podium finish that he earned in 2013 at the 24-hour of Le Mans. This is the most prestigious and historic endurance race in the world. Darryl's acquired millions of dollars in sponsorships, and today he gives us a peek into his early life, the influence that his father had on him, and just how he deals with being in the public spotlight all the time. So let's get right into the show. Darryl, thanks for coming in and being a guest on the podcast. Pretty excited to have you here. So let's just begin with your sort of background and your it's quite unusual for, I guess, being in Asia to have a professional athlete because that sort of thing has to be encouraged by one's parents and whatnot growing up. Myself, as a child, I was basically, my dad wanted me to be a doctor, and I basically resisted, and I still ended up being in finance. So tell me about your beginnings and how did you get into racing?
Yeah, I started racing really young. Like you said, my parents did support us a lot in sports. So I grew up doing a lot of different sports, but racing was one of the things that my dad liked to do himself. It actually started when he was young, probably. The passion started back in Hong Kong when he used to race in the streets. And actually back then it was kind of a normal thing in Hong Kong to do some street racing. It was not actually that forbidden in the past. But I'd say obviously now with safety coming a lot more, it's something that people don't do. But that's where he sparked his interest, and he passed that along to me. So when I grew up, even after I was born, my dad was already racing cars. But he did it as a semi-professional, as a hobby. So it was not really a full-time thing for him. He was very serious about it, and he won a lot of championships in Canada.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, back then. So something he did a lot. And then when I became 8 years old, I actually started off 4 or 5 years old, I used to watch him race. And I kind of really loved cars. Mm-hmm. But then when I turned 8, he got me a go-kart. And that was really a big turning point because I really fell in love with racing, and it just did a lot from there forward.
So was it one of these things where you basically, he kind of encouraged you, and just by being around him, and he was your role model, obviously, and so you kind of fell in love with it at the same time?
Yeah, sport is something that has to evolve. That's why it's really good to give kids exposure to sport, because they'll find out what they want to do, what they love. My dad never forced me. He wasn't one of those sporting dads that kind of forced me to perform well and forced me to do, to compete. He was really just introduced me to it and gave me the chance to race, and then I really just took it from there and he gave me all the support I needed. Right.
So was there a point in your childhood that you remember that you were like, okay, this is what I want to do as a career? Or was it kind of like a hobby and you were kind of exploring other things, but then you naturally gravitated just because of your dad's background and whatnot?
Actually, there was a very big turning point. It was at 12 years old.
Okay.
I do remember this because we were just racing locally in Vancouver and around Canada. And then my dad actually asked me if I wanted to take it more serious. And that was kind of a big turning point at 12 years old. He goes, if you really want to you're doing really well, but if you want to take this to the next level, we have to invest time and money into traveling more to the US and competing. So I definitely said I wanted to do it, of course.
Right.
But of course, he really wanted to make sure I was serious. Like I had to study well in school. Like I had to actually dedicate myself to doing it well and doing it with him. So he actually retired from racing at 12 when I was 12.
Right.
He stopped racing.
Okay.
Because racing is a pretty expensive sport. It's
Yeah,
not something
exactly.
You just do like with basketball or something, you know.
Right.
You have to buy a go-kart. It takes a little bit of investment.
Sure.
Karting is still the cheapest form of motorsport, but it still took some money. So he stopped racing, sold his race car, and actually put his time and money into me. So it took a lot of time because we did a lot of races. I think at the peak of my racing, when I was about 15 or so, I was probably doing like 20 races a year. So that's quite a bit. That's 20 weekends out of the year, which is quite a lot as well.
Wow, that's incredible. And so was there sort of an agreement that between you and your dad, that was like, okay, you still need to do well in school and this and that?
I'm not sure if that was an agreement or that was what my mom had told me.
Oh, right.
On my mom's side, my dad probably would have slacked on that, but my mom
Right.
was pretty obviously strict on me doing well in school, and it's all at the end you can't count on sport to be your. I think everybody needs to focus on education, and sport will have to come as a secondary thing.
Right.
And anybody that doesn't do that, I believe is being a bit naive because in life there's a lot more than just even a sporting career only lasts so long. You need to think a lot about the future.
Right.
You need to prepare. You're not going to go back, finish high school, finish university.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's quite interesting though, because given our backgrounds, being Asian and whatnot, I mean, my parents always hammered in the fact that you have to have education. But I think that education is changing now in regards to, how you can learn. I think because of the internet and what was happened in probably the last 10, 15 years, like a lot of the information that was not available to people that you could only learn in school in the classroom setting, you can now get for free off the internet, right? So I think what the schooling and education system will look like in probably 10, 15 years will be vastly different than sort of what we went through. But you do have a point. I mean, I think a lot of younger kids have that naivete where they think that, I'm going to be Michael Jordan or whatever. And it's great to have dreams and chase dreams, but there's also a fine line. So that kind of brings me to my next question to you is sort of, having done this and having made a successful career out of it, was there ever a point where you questioned it at any step of the way? Was it kind of like at some points, maybe I'm not doing as well, maybe I should toss in the towel and pursue something else? Because I think that as an entrepreneur, the greatest fear is failure, right? And that sort of fear never ever goes away. I mean, even if you're quite successful, if the next venture that you're working on, you're going to, fear that it might not work out. So how was that experience for you? I mean, your whole life, basically.
I was going to ask you which of the 100 times that's going to quit racing. No, obviously, it's a very big challenge. Anytime you do, it's like you do anything. Anytime you try and achieve something that is outside your comfort zone, it's going to be, it's going to feel risky. It's going to feel challenging. I think the biggest moment for that was probably after high school. Because it's kind of, I went on to study marketing anyhow, because actually my dad like you said before, reinforced education. So, which is, I think, part of the package. You need, as an athlete or anybody, you need a package. You need to be more than just a player. So the ones that are actually educated are able to think about marketing, think about promotion, understand, work with businesses or start businesses. So those are actually the ones that are the most successful.
Sure.
Because you need to know how to market yourself throughout your career. But with that being said, putting it all together to make it happen, I actually started studying marketing when I was 15 or 16. Because I really wanted to understand. Actually, my dad actually put me onto that quite early, saying that if you want to keep racing as a professional career, you're going to have to be able to find sponsors, because I'm not going to be able to pay for your racing.
Right.
So I was like, that's a pretty good
point.
It kind of made me think about that.
Yeah.
So 15, 16, I took my first marketing course. Even after 18, I took some sports marketing courses, and I really wanted to understand more. So I went on to get my education in marketing. But I did think about that a lot when I got to my early 20s. I was thinking a lot about, I tried to get into cars, obviously. I'm racing Formula cars. The step from go-karts to Formula cars is quite a big one, because the car is a lot more costs. So you need a lot more sponsors behind you. So I was able to find, my dad actually put a lot of resource himself and time, and we had a lot of friends helping to get me into my first race car, because we couldn't really afford it.
Wow.
So we ended up working long nights and getting everybody together to work on this project, kind of build Darryl's Formula cars. So people coming helping all the time. And then so
it's like Kickstarter, like before Kickstarter.
Someone donated a race car, like an old race. It was a piece of junk, but it was an old race car.
Wow.
people were fixing it up. So I did
That's awesome.
end up 3 races that year, and I was able to finish second in this really big race in the US. And I was able to land a sponsor. But even then, the sponsors, it was very tough. It was like, you're not getting any pay. It was kind of like they gave me a job to work on a race team, and I was able to have a place to live, have some food to eat, and be able to race.
Oh, wow.
And so I had no pay. It was like just like basic necessities and go racing. So back then, of course, early 20s, I was like, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, sure.
I did that for a couple of years, and it was
this was back in Canada?
this is actually in the US. I was living in California.
Oh, okay. Okay, wow.
California, and I went to work with a team. So it was a challenging part of my career, because it's tough to think about, where is this going to take my future? Because I'm barely making ends meet,
Right.
I'm doing okay on the racetrack. I think I finished, I won some races. I finished the second and third in the championship, somewhere there. But
so it was like a true, like almost like an apprenticeship, where it's like you get paid zero and you get to work with a team, but hopefully you're like betting that this will pay off at some point, right?
So that's what I was doing, because you need to get experience. I remember me and my teammate, we used to drive the truck as well. So we like towed our race cars across the country, and then we get out, we had to race against people that were like, there's other drivers that just show up and you got to race, and we did the grind,
Right.
I wouldn't trade that experience because it was fun.
Yeah.
But I remember after 2 years of doing that, I did 2 years kind of building that experience. It was kind of the point where I considered quitting racing. I was like, I have to think about my future,
Yeah.
I think about like,
sure.
what am I going to do? I can't just keep living this racing dream, even though, like it's been part of my life since I was 8. So at that point, it's been 12 years of my life competing every year. But obviously you need to think about reality. So it's kind of that balance came in. And I remember my sisters encouraged me a lot to continue my career, like to really focus on not giving up your dreams and working hard at it. And there's going to be opportunities that come. And so I kind of stuck with it. And that kind of actually led to some further opportunities down the road.
Right.
And brought me back to Asia, which is actually, it all happened kind of coincidentally, because I made my little marketing documents when I went to, I actually got an opportunity to do one race in China in about 2001. So during those 2 years I was racing in California, I did one race over in China. I had an uncle that liked cars a bit, and he brought me out here to help me line up a sponsor.
And just as an aside, like Asian race car drivers, it still is quite rare, right?
Yeah, especially in the US and Canada, it's not something, I don't think it was really attractive to sponsors. It wasn't necessarily marketable, or it was just kind of, it didn't really have much substance to it. So when I came back to Asia, to Hong Kong, and do the race in China, it kind of opened my eyes that there is, because that was my first time leaving North America actually, and when I was 21. And it's my first time leaving North America. So kind of like eye-opener to seeing like Asia, and seeing all this stuff. And I thought, there's so much opportunity out here. Racing is still quite in its infancy. So I decided to look for opportunities out here. So when I did the race out here, I made these marketing documents. My dad kind of helped me, told me what I should do. Because I already did my marketing courses, so I knew exactly. So I made these I remember paper documents. And I just went around literally everywhere, hand them out. I had some friends help me print these back in Vancouver. And
that's
I brought
amazing.
a whole stack of them. And I passed them everywhere. I went back to California and continued my racing. But then 2 years later, I think it was, in end of 2003, somebody had received that from Porsche Hong Kong, and
the marketing document.
Yeah,
it actually worked. Amazing.
Onto the desk of the GM, and they called me and offered me a trial, a test.
Wow.
Here and try it. And then I did the first Porsche Cup test, and went really well, and I got my first contract as a professional driver.
That's unbelievable. I've never heard this story before, actually.
I moved out to Asia, and that's how it all started my career.
Wow. That's awesome. I mean, it's like so many, I think a lot of the younger entrepreneurs now, the one thing that they don't have is patience, right? And as an entrepreneur, I know that that's one of the most important things, because entrepreneurs they're very impatient. They want to get whatever the metrics of success that they think it is, money, fame, the next gig or whatever it is. But so many people are impatient, and it's a grind. I mean, being an entrepreneur is not easy. You have to literally stick at it. And there's so many times, like you said, the 100 times that you thought you're gonna quit, and what am I doing with my life, my future? This, that, and the other. But I think you just have to, fortunately for you, your family was very supportive, and that's one thing that I think you have to find that support network and people that believe in you to back you. I think if I was in your shoes, my parents would have been like, give it up, go get a real job, right? So I think that obviously was one of the keys to your success. And I think it's difficult, especially given the niche that you were in, given the fact that you're Asian and everything, I think, is really, you overcame a lot of challenges, to get your first gig here in Asia. And so tell me, like, after that first gig that you got signed, you moved to Asia full time, basically, at that point?
Yeah, at that point, I was really committed to trying to build up myself in this market. And I think it really helped with aligning with Porsche because they really gave me that opportunity. Yeah, it takes some breaks. It definitely does. You can't do it on your own. You need some things to align sometimes. And this one really, this opportunity really did, because Robbie Neerman, who was the GM at Porsche Hong Kong at the time, was really had a vision to develop young talent, and he really wanted to help me get better. Which is exactly, he didn't want to just have a marketing story. He wanted to have some substance to that, which was giving me the opportunity to learn and develop. But he sent me to Australia and New Zealand for winter series to develop, and also gave me the chance to race for 2 years. And it really helped me launch my career in terms of I had my first Macau win with them, with Porsche Hong Kong. And actually I drove for them for 6 years on.
Wow.
But during that time also, I kind of kept looking for further opportunities. I was able to start racing over in Europe. I had some sponsors that really supported me there. So things really went well in my 20s, all the way through. It was a lot of great opportunities, a lot of good sponsors, a lot of people that really believed in me, and it helped me to achieve success on the racetrack, winning several major races, endurance races. I was able to compete at some, races that, if you look back to when I was younger in the US, I would have thought I never even would have imagined racing there. Like, I think even going to be a spectator at Le Mans, I would have been like really happy,
Yeah.
But to able to compete at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and
that's unbelievable.
Finish on the podium, it was kind of a dream come true. We were only 30 seconds from the win, so it's still one of those disappointments. But
Yeah.
we were really close to the win, but Le Mans was kind of it's the mecca for endurance racing.
Sure,
Really wanted to compete there, and it was able to. So it's just things that are unimaginable really happened, and it's big. It's just really a lot of things came together for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine, the feeling that you must have had having the podium finish at Le Mans, but then being so close to actually winning the whole thing, right? So it must have been bittersweet. I mean, it's like, obviously, like, exactly. You never imagined this as a kid, that you'd be standing there, but then at the same time, you're like, 30 seconds, Obviously, you've had quite a successful career. I think a lot of people kind of recognize you for your humility. I've heard this from several people where they say, Darryl's like, he's such a down-to-earth guy, like, I mean, I've met him several times and he just seems like a good dude, and how do you go from, being a successful public figure, professional race car driver, athlete? You obviously have a big fan base, and how do you go from that to just every day being as grounded and humble as you are?
I think a lot actually has to do with my dad. He did teach me a lot. Like, my dad himself was a really, people always kind of saw him as the guru. They would call him the guru or Yoda, and all these funny things. But he had a very good faith in Christianity, and it was actually a big part of him, which he passed on to me.
Right.
So Christian life was a big part of me. It's just, I think, all around, he always focused on my attitude. So, in racing, there was just, of course, winning, of course, being fast. But then, like, for example, he would never let me protest other drivers, even if they wronged me. It was something that he just instilled in me that, you just learn from that experience,
Right.
Like, there's a lot of areas where sportsmanship was a big thing for him. Like,
right.
So there was this all around attitude that was not, this is where Christian faith does strengthen me, because it really helps me open my eyes to, like, one thing my dad always said to me is there's always another. This interview is actually drawing back a lot of memories. It's funny. There's a lot of things that he taught me, but he did mention to me before, like, there's always going to be someone faster than you. When you win a race here, there's someone younger, someone whatever, always going to be quicker than you. Like, you always just got to keep yourself in check, that you got to keep improving yourself, keep working at it. Just good attitude. And I think overall, I mean, what is racing? Like, yeah, I have a good talent at racing, but it doesn't make me better than anything. Like, it's just, that's the kind of attitude I've always had.
Right.
And I think it's just, there's so many super talented people in this world out there. Some people are good in business, some people are good in sport, art. There's just so many things that there's talent, and you have to respect every single area of that. And for me, I've been fortunate to be able to do my hobby professionally, but it's been very fun, and it's been amazing, and I feel really blessed just to be able to travel the world and to see all these opportunities. That's actually more fulfilling in a way, like, not just achieving that sporting side, but like just having the chance to see the world and go to all these countries, and over the past 10, 12 years have, I've flown 2 million miles and just seen everything. I've seen all these places I never would imagine.
Incredible.
So I think it's everybody, like my family and my sisters, are all proud of me, but I feel like I just like wish that they had that opportunity too to be able to do that, because it's something that not everybody gets a chance to.
Yeah, that's amazing. What an incredible experience you've had. So I like to, one of the questions that I like to ask sort of high achievers in whatever field they are is, what sort of daily rituals, habits, practices, just to keep you kind of sharp and on edge? Like being an entrepreneur, you're a businessman, entrepreneur, you're a professional race car driver. Literally, you don't have time. I mean, I know how busy you are. You don't have time to take a break. You're always on. You're always thinking about your business or competing in a race or doing some marketing, or, you always have to be switched on. So what helps you? Are there any things that you do on a daily basis that help you just perform at such a high level, day after day after day?
Yeah, it is definitely busy. It's important to obviously stay organized. I was able to build a good team of guys around me, so they were able to so my assistant's been with me 8 years. That's really
wow.
Big assistance, really big help for me, and just people that really are loyal and dedicated, and I think that's really important to have that.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, with the time schedule, it's really hard to manage events, sponsors, and now having my own business and just everything like that it's a lot. Plus, we must compete, stay on form and compete at the top level in motorsports. So I would say that, in a perfect world, I could just race, and not worry about anything, and just train and race, and that's all. That would be a perfect life. But obviously, you need to maintain having sponsors and building that base, and it's something that I've had to do on the side all my life. So sponsorship is the whole business aspect of it. I actually glad I did that, because it taught me a lot in business about how I was able to learn a lot during those 20s. I was able to learn a lot about business, so that helped me a lot. But myself personally, obviously, got to stay fit. Training was a big part of my life. Lately, I've changed my training regime a lot. I started off, training a lot, did 5-6 days a week, and obviously for me, all the traveling I do, weight gain was one major issue for me. So for me personally, I was really trying to understand how to better manage my weight and things like that. So lately I've learned a lot about nutrition and training. So I could join this program, Hack Your Fitness, and it really changed a lot for me, because I learned a lot about nutrition and eating and changing my fitness regime. So it actually helped me drop 25 pounds in the past few months. So it's actually quite interesting that efficiency, I think, is learning, training hard, but doing it efficiently is really important. In my business life, keep working on building a better team. So we've grown a lot in terms of the staff and people I have around me, and it's really helped our business grow a lot. So since I'm now 36, I'm reaching that I'm not thinking about retirement yet, but it's obviously in the back of your mind a little bit. It's not what I'm trying to do now.
Sure.
But I've always more of a planning ahead kind of person. I always like to look ahead, and even in my sporting career, when I was racing in Asia, I was looking towards Europe, in the back of my mind, so I could make my move over there and then make it to the World Championship. So it's always I'm always trying to be a few steps ahead. And right now, I'm with me and a few partners. We started a race team. Now it's been 3 years already. We're in our third year, and it's going really well. To have a business alongside my sporting career, it's been really good. And it's going to be, I think, a great transition for when I move into the second half of my career after my 40s. I think racing will always be a part of me. So I'm trying to really look for other ways that besides driving, there's other aspects that you can be involved. And I think having a race team is something that I'm really passionate about.
Right. Okay. So just for full disclosure to the audience, the Hack Your Fitness program is actually my own program that Darryl has actually been on, and he's had amazing results. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you were working on? You talked about your own sort of race team. I believe it's called Craft Bamboo. And tell us a little bit about what you're doing there, and in addition to sort of some of the other things that you're doing in the community, because I know that's a big focus for you as well.
Yeah, Craft Bamboo Racing is actually a team that started out in Asia, Craft Racing, and then actually Bamboo Engineering was a team I drove for in Europe during the World Championships, and my partner and I, Frank, started work together in Craft Racing to really try to build up this brand in Asia over the past few years, and we merged together with Bamboo Engineering, about 2 years ago. So Craft Bamboo Racing is a business that really tries to link Asia and Europe in terms of motorsport. There's a lot, in Europe, motorsport has a really big history. It's got 90 years at Le Mans, and just a really big fan base and really big infrastructure. Asia is still really young. People didn't really compete in cars and motorsports. But at the same time, China is the number one car market in the world. It's the fastest growing car market. So there's a lot of involvement from manufacturers, and just cars is a big subject, I think, automobiles. So I think our business is really trying to create that linkage, bring expertise from Europe, but at the same time, bring that to the newer Asian market. And that's what our racing team has been doing. We compete in a lot of either world championships that race in Europe and Asia, or also at the same time, we compete a lot of championships in Asia. And I think with the growing, not just motorsport, but just overall in car manufacturing and technology, everything in Asia is growing really quickly. And we think that we have the expertise to be able to help companies and businesses in that area.
Awesome. And then what about, I know you do a lot of stuff locally with regards to community outreach, because I know that's sort of a big passion of yours, is to give back, right? So what have you been working on these days? One
of the biggest programs we work on is the O'Young Future Stars. It's a nonprofit kids karting program.
O'Young Future Stars.
O'Young's Future Stars, yeah. Motorsport is, like I said before, is something that is not, people don't have much exposure to. In Hong Kong, actually, a lot of people don't know, but there used to be like World Championship kart races in Victoria Park. Used to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. A lot of people didn't know this. It was in the 90s, actually, not that long ago. 80s and 90s that there was the Victoria Park kart World Championship. So a lot of the top drivers around the world used to come compete in karts here. There was a really big history in motorsport, especially the Macau Grand Prix. A lot of Hong Kong drivers used to be very famous competing on Macau circuit. The past 20 years really lost motorsport somehow, whatever reasons it is, it doesn't exist anymore. So we're really hoping that motorsport can make a comeback in the city, and we can see it has, because Formula E it's having its first motorsport street race in Hong Kong. And also, we had a kart track here a few years ago, and that's no longer. So we're trying to really help motorsport grow again. And of course, the future of any sport is the kids. There's nothing really introducing kids to sport. For me, I was quite fortunate. When I was 8, my dad got me a kart because he liked motorsport and he knew it. But how about all those other kids that don't have the opportunity? A lot of parents and people love cars. And Hong Kong is a city known for, huge abundances of supercars. Macau has a 60-year history here, the Macau Grand Prix. A lot of people grew up watching the sports, but there's no outlet for people. If they see that, even if they like the sport, they have no idea.
How do you get involved? How do you get started, right?
Get started.
Yeah, exactly.
So our program was really just to take action. There was a lot of talk about programs and we want to get kids, but no one's really taking any action. So I was able to find a couple good partners, GV Motorsport and also Sideways Driving Club in Central.
Oh, right, yeah.
And we worked together on a concept to really try to bring the general public to have exposure to motorsport. So we've done now about 10 classes, and we've had over 100 to 150 kids been through our program, and actually 3 or 4 of them are actually racing now, like full time, which they never touched a kart before. So
wow,
it's quite satisfying to see that we're able to make
working
small difference.
But
of course, with millions of people in Hong Kong, we're not really reaching a lot of people, but I think you have to take things step by step. But that's been quite a nice program. We also, together with my sponsors VLT, we've been going around schools. We've been again to about 10 schools now, about 5,000 kids we've spoken to. Next up, we have some universities we're going to talk to with the Race to Win message, we call it. This year, our campaign is VLT Race to Win. And that's really talking about having that winning attitude, having that drive and desire to do well and perform well when you do something. So whatever it is, if it's through sport or if it's education or anything you do, you gotta really give it your effort to make it. A lot of people think that things like, if they see me in my sporting career now, they might think, oh, maybe these were opportunities were given to me. But
exactly.
They don't really know that story about the grind.
Sure.
So that's kind of what we're sharing to schools. We're using that Race to Win story, and telling people that you really have to have a dream and not give up on it and keep working hard. And I think Hong Kong kind of needs it these days, because a lot of young people are not really looking to the future and thinking there's bright opportunity. There's a lot of negativity on that side. So hopefully we can inspire some kids to really dream big.
I agree with you. I mean, I think that the easiest sort of cop-out for anyone that, whether they have a chip on their shoulder or they look at the success of other entrepreneurs or businessmen or in whatever field, it's very easy for you to just say, oh, well, he comes from a rich family, or he was given that opportunity, or he got lucky, right? A lot of people say, oh, you got lucky, he lucked out, right? But what people don't understand is that, yeah, sure, there's a small minority of people that, they lucked out, or they came from a good family that set them up. But that's not to say that these people didn't work hard for whatever they earned, right? But they didn't get lucky. Like they've been working for, 10, 20, 30 years on their craft, their passion, like even like the Hollywood star, right? Like, how difficult it is to land an audition, right? These people are working on their craft for years and years and years, and then they have their big break, and then people say they lucked out, they got lucky, right? It doesn't work like that, right? So we're going to look to wrap up here. But so on that same note, what's one sort of piece of advice that you would give to a young entrepreneur that's looking to perhaps pursue something, chase a dream at a young age? Maybe it's something similar to what you're doing, a non-conventional route, or maybe it's just something that they're not sure if they'll be successful at. What would you say is sort of one good piece of advice?
I would say, especially when you're younger and have more flexibility in your 20s, really take risks. I mean, try to find different opportunities. Look for things that you're passionate about. I think that's the hardest thing. Is like, for me, I was quite lucky because I found my passion when I was 8. Most people can't really be able to find that passion. But whatever it is, if it is sport, or if it's making money, or if it's being successful in business, whatever it is, find that passion and then really dedicate everything you do towards it. Like I said earlier with motorsport, it's like, I found that passion is racing, so I had to study marketing. I had to study PR. I had to study business. I had to really strengthen that side in order to be successful in motorsport. It's not just as simple as, I like to drive fast.
Right.
And that's where if you find your passion, you got to build around that. So take the time and take the risk to find that passion, and from there, take time to study and learn that craft. Find all the areas you need to be strong in around that passion, and then the success will come in your 30s. It's something that takes time. Nowadays, people are looking for shortcuts, looking for the hacks.
Yeah, exactly.
But there is no shortcut in the long term. You need to really know your thing, know your stuff when the opportunity comes. Yeah. When the opportunity comes the big opportunity comes, and you don't know what you're doing, it'll be very obvious and apparent. So be prepared for that big break.
That's really, really good advice. I mean, you have to be patient, but at the same time, you got to be very prepared. You got to put in the time, go all in and become that expert. So when, exactly what you said, you never know when that door opens, then you have to have done all your work and ready to seize it, right? So that's great, man. Dude, thanks so much for doing this. I think this is going to be really, really helpful, and I think the listeners are going to take away a lot of good insight from here. So where can we find out more about you? You're on social media, right?
Yeah, Twitter, social media is always a good way.
Just Darryl, you're on Darryl O'Young? Is that your Twitter handle?
Usually we search up Darryl O'Young on Facebook and Twitter. And
Facebook, Twitter. And then your company website is craftbamboo.com.
Yeah, craftbamboo.com.
Okay. And what's your sort of big race coming up next? Where can people look to see you racing next?
My biggest race each year is Macau Grand Prix, and that comes in November, end of the year each year.
Okay.
So that's a really big race for me and for our team as well. So yeah, Macau Grand Prix street race. This year's, I think, it's the 63rd or 63rd edition.
Wow.
So it's a really exciting race, and actually a lot of Hong Kong people don't really know about this race. A lot of people in Asia, from around Asia, fly in to watch this race. So hopefully more people can take the ferry from Hong Kong over to watch it that don't know about it. But it's actually an amazing event, and some of the biggest, the motorsport greats around the world have actually competed here.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, thanks again for coming in, and best of luck to you.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. All the show notes and links can be found over at jkimshow.com. Come back often and make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. Don't forget to join us next week for another exciting episode of The J Kim Show. I'd love to hear your comments. You can find me on Twitter at JKimmer, JayKimmer. See you guys next week. This podcast is brought to you by Hack Your Fitness, the high achiever's guide to getting ripped in under 3 hours a week. If you're anything like me, you're probably working a full-time job or jobs and trying to find time to balance family life, social life, and last but not least, fitness. Look, I get it. I'm a full-time investor and entrepreneur myself, and father of two. So how am I able to stay fit year-round without spending hours and hours in the gym killing myself on the cardio machine? After struggling for the last 15 years trying every workout and diet under the sun, I finally designed a system that allows me to achieve and maintain single-digit body fat for life in under 3 hours a week. Cardio not required. Head on over to hackyour.fitness and download my free 13-page guide that teaches you the simple science behind efficient fitness and smart nutrition and gives you everything you need to know to finally take control of your life. That's hackyour.fitness.